gonna start raining soon.
It's gonna start raining.
Because there's so many clouds in the sky.
Oh my god. Hello and welcome to This Is. Are there too many handhelds?
No.
Oh, okay. Video over. Lately, there's been a lot of news, and it seems like every week there's a new handheld gaming device coming out. And normally I would say that that's really good for the consumer. But there's a lot of options and very little choice.
Can we speed run the options?
So obviously we have like Switch.
Yeah, proper
and
gaming console.
Proper gaming console, platform, dedicated games, all that stuff. But we're gonna have the Switch 2 in like, you know, soon.
We did a whole video on that if you want to check out. We got the dev kit and everything. Subscribe to the main channel. It's 75% as good as this is.
Okay, let's put that in its own little category off to the
Switch.
side.
Got it.
Then we have like the Steamdeck, which has been the new hotness in the gaming space, which is it's running Linux with SteamOS. But now we have so many new Windows-based ones.
Ayaneo
has
ROG Ally.
I mean, there's like, you know, there's like 5-6 different Ayaneos. There's the Lite, there's the
Air,
the Air 2 Pro, the 2,
the 2S,
and then you have like
Logitech G Cloud,
the Logitech G
the
Cloud.
Razer Edge.
Yep. So the ROG Ally, I want to be clear, I have not actually played with it yet. So the Ally is in some reviewers' hands, and it's gotten a lot of really positive reviews.
People have it?
Yeah.
And we don't?
Here's the secret sauce with the ROG Ally, because this is where I think everything goes up to 11. All the choices that have been out there, I almost exclusively just say, go back to the Steamdeck. I think the Steamdeck is the best bang for your buck as far as build quality and experience.
The reason why the Steam Deck works so well is that, yes, you've got full Linux on there, you can do whatever you want, but you can live inside of Steam's big picture mode, and it's actually a very friendly interface. Whereas with pretty much all of the Windows-powered devices, mind you, I'm assuming that ROG with Armory Crate or whatever kind of customization they're gonna do, it will be a little bit better, but like, it's very clear that you're running like some stuff bolted onto Windows. There's some version of Windows that is a little bit more optimized for handhelds that is at least in some level of development.
The Ally has come out, and this is the first time I'm like, you know what? You should spend some more money and get the Ally over pretty much anything else. And this is not like an ad for Ally.
Yeah, they won't even give us one.
No, we don't even have it in our hand. But like, just on the basis of what's inside this thing alone, and I think this is where we're gonna see a massive shift with handhelds.
Yeah.
So it's an AMD, what is it?
Z1 and Z1 Extreme.
Yeah.
So essentially, when the Steam Deck came out, Valve actually got AMD to make them a custom chip, which is very much based on the same kind of tech that you would find inside the PS5, the Series S, the Series X. You got Zen 2 cores, you got RDNA 2 graphics, which is a good place to start. You know, like you've got that same sort of core building blocks of the consoles, but obviously much more shrunken down to work inside of 15, 20 watt TDP or something. However, now that that's a little bit older, what AMD have done is they see so many of these gaming handhelds coming out, and essentially they've all just been using off-the-shelf Ryzen chips for like laptops.
You were seeing so many like Ryzen 7 6800 used. Totally. That was like the new hotness for whatever.
But now AMD are actually doing their own custom chip. Clearly, AMD see a big enough market here with these gaming handhelds. They are essentially rolling a somewhat custom chip. Now, it's hard to say exactly how custom it truly is, but it is a chip that is designed to be running in a handheld device at a lower level of power, but it's got all the bells and whistles. It's got the latest Zen processors, RDNA 3, I believe.
And normally I don't really talk about specs. I'm like, you know, I don't really care. I like the way it feels, blah, blah, that's been what I've been preaching for years. The Ally, I can talk about specs because when we talk about teraflops,
Oh, I love me some flops.
Tera farts per mega shit.
Okay, Kinsey.
With the Steam Deck, you're getting a vaguely equivalent level of performance to something like a PS4 or Xbox One. It's a little bit higher and has a much newer sort of GPU and much more powerful CPU, but you're getting that kind of rough level of performance, which is enough to make do at like low settings with pretty much any modern AAA game. However, what these new Z1 chips that AMD are bringing out, because they're a pretty decent step up, it's a little bit closer to something like an Xbox Series S. This is actually a serious level of performance that you can fit in the palms of your hands, assuming you've got big hands.
When you talk about pure teraflops, like like we said, we're into like current gen console territory.
Because the newer RDNA, I think the teraflop number, it's not a one-to-one equivalent. So even though it might be like, you know, 3 or 4 teraflops, it's not quite the same as RDNA 2 teraflops. This is all squishy. It's better. It's a lot better than it was.
Yes, but I don't think the ROG Ally is going to be a night and day difference over something like the Steam Deck for an exact reason of how shitty PC ports have been.
There's Red Bull in my nose.
Oh God. You have like Jedi Survivor that just came out that can't hit 60 FPS with a 4090. So like putting this great chip in the Ally like is great, but I don't think it's gonna be like a night and day difference. A couple weeks ago, we talked about the PlayStation, the PSP Portable.
Yep.
What if Sony puts this chip in to their system, and they kind of treat it the same way Xbox does with a Series X versus Series S? I know it's not about what people want to hear, but like maybe we target games at 720. You could theoretically get current gen games natively on this system with this chip, and I think that so the Ally, that's where I think this is gonna be a game changer for handhelds.
If this Q-Lite console is coming out from Sony, the only rumor that we really have to go on right now is it's going to be able to do remote play. There's no shot that this is only a remote play console. That's only like the fragment that has been sort of leaked out or whatever. Like, there's clearly more to it than that. So if you follow the logic chat, which I, in this case, do, it's got the performance of something like the ROG Ally, which, like you said, would probably be enough that if developers wanted to put a little bit of effort into, they could probably port PS5 games to it, just running at lower settings, much the same way that the Steamdeck can run pretty much any current generation console game or PC game just at lowered settings, right? So that's something that I think is very reasonable. And think about it from Sony's perspective. They've got to fight on the PC side with everybody, right? So like they're trying to get into that space. It's very lucrative, but obviously Sony's not going to be able to bring out the PlayStation PC and sell a bunch of those. They have to fight with Xbox on the console side, and Game Pass is very successful. So from their perspective, where else do you go? Oh, I know. We're going to go after our buddies over at Nintendo, and we're going to try to make a handheld device. If you think about it from that perspective and not just the, oh, it's a cloud gaming or streaming console, that makes so much more sense.
That's what we talked about, and everyone's like, well, if it's only cloud gaming or remote play, I don't want to do it. But I have one more piece of secret sauce there.
Where's this piece
So
of sauce?
if it's Zen 3, it's got native AV1 encoding. So if you can get that from the PlayStation Remote Play, you can have stupidly small file sizes, less than 10 megabit, with higher resolution, higher frame rate. You know that as soon as you try and put Call of Duty on a PlayStation Portable, it's going to take up the entire SSD. I've been saying that in order for Sony to compete with Xbox right now, the ROG Ally is basically what I think is going to be the PlayStation Portable.
So to sum that up, because I feel like I'm your translator here.
I do feel like I'm a crazy person of like...
No, you got your serial killer board. I follow you. I follow you. Essentially, imagine something like a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally. So a handheld, instead of running Windows, it's running an operating system which is designed for a handheld. And it would also then allow developers to target this Q-Lite when they're creating their games. For all we know, they might try to force them to actually give it compatibility, just the same way that, you know, if you're making an Xbox game for Series X, you can't just make it for X, you also have to make it for S. I don't think Sony will be able to pull off a muscle move like that. Now, mind you, I think while I agree with this all directionally, it is worth mentioning we are just speculating. The only rumor about this
is me with my tinfoil hat. Coming back to like, are there too many gaming handheld right now? Because there's so many options, but again, not that much choice, because they're all roughly the same. They're all roughly the same AMD processor, and they're really expensive. And that's because they have to make money on the hardware. Whereas Steam Deck can charge less because they have Steam behind it. PlayStation can charge less because they got the, you buy games off of it.
Nintendo make money selling you a $350 Switch OLED. So if we use that as our baseline, say $400, just as for sake of argument, right? It's got probably not a crazy level of performance, but it's probably Steam Deck or maybe a little bit higher, probably not quite as big as the ROG, but whatever. Basic 1080p display, they bolt a DualSense onto the sides. That's something that I could see existing. This is not a crazy thing for them to do. And if they can manage the software side of things, of again porting a similar UI and OS that the PS5 is running to this, which again it's all AMD hardware, that wouldn't be too crazy. And if they can heavily encourage developers and build the tools to make it simple to port games from PS5 over to this PS Portable Vita Generation 3 Q-Lite edition, that's a really compelling thing. Like, I think this would make a ton of sense. And if you think about it, right, so this thing is out, maybe a year, 2 years from now or something. Probably around the same time that Nintendo will be bringing out the Switch 2, which means that there would be some real proper competition. Imagine a scenario that we're, a year and a half from now, where you've got a Switch 2, you've potentially got this Sony Q-Lite handheld gaming device. Maybe we've got a Steam Deck 2 at that point, where there's going to be clearly a lot more of the gaming handhelds. Like, there's going to be a lot of action here. This is exciting stuff.
Let's talk about competition. Microsoft also has a really good relationship with AMD.
If you say Surface Duo, I'm going to punch you in the face.
No. The Xbox and the PlayStation.
Yep, Xbox, PlayStation.
Their bones are pretty similar. The innards are roughly the same.
Well, how many bones does a PlayStation have, Matt? 7.
What's stopping Microsoft from also saying, you know what, AMD, I would also like one of these custom chips.
They 100% gonna do
And
it.
so,
And
like-
they have the incentive because they sell Windows, right? So they could either make this a Windows device or they could make it an offshoot of the Xbox. Easy. So you can basically look at it from two sides. If Microsoft wanted to make one of these, you could do one of two things, I think. You could make an Xbox portable. It's pretty much exactly what we just talked about with the PlayStation portable, which we're running an offshoot of the Xbox OS. Obviously, it's completely locked down to only running games that have been certified, that they get to cut on and everything. Or you could sell a Surface handheld, which is running Windows, that obviously still has all your Xbox stuff and whatnot, probably has a slightly worked over interface that works a little bit better for touch and, using controllers and whatnot. The problem though is that if you go the Surface route and the Windows route, it is almost by definition going to have to be a lot more expensive because they can't make the money on the software. Whereas if they make it Xbox branded, they could easily just say, oh, we're going to sell at a slight loss. Well, you're going to have Game Pass. You're going to have to buy games from us. It's going to make a little bit more sense.
I will solve all of this. Sony just needs to come out with their own operating system for PCs. The tyranny of Microsoft and Apple and Linux is over.
Linux tyranny. Okay, yeah.
Because Pony OS is going to come out. The point is with all of this is like, I think that we are almost in a really good spot. I don't think right now we are in a good spot with gaming handhelds.
Is too much of a good thing bad? Like if I ate, say, hypothetically, an entire sleeve of Oreos, while I enjoyed them going down, that's not necessarily a good, healthy thing. And if I, say, have a entire market full of G Clouds, Razer Edges, Switches, it's too much of a good thing, Matt. Too much of a good thing. You're gonna get cavities.
Let's go back to your Oreo thing. So
please, I'm hungry.
We have Oreo. Well, I mean, technically, Oreo stole the idea from Hydrox.
Hydrox, yeah.
So right now, the competition we have in cookies is it's not just Oreo versus Hydrox. It's Oreo, Hydrox, Chips Ahoy, Nutter Butter. We have a bunch of different types of cookies. That's why we have 12,000 different versions of Oreo, because they got to be pushing themselves. But right now, the way the gaming handhelds are, it's not Oreo, Hydrox, Chips Ahoy, Nutter Butter. It's Oreo, Hydrox, Hodrox, Hedrox. It's all the same version of the same thing. All of them are off-the-shelf parts because they are trying to build these as cheap as possible because they have no way to offset the cost of the hardware. It sucks for companies like Ayaneo because they make legitimately really good hardware, but they're just not going to be able to compete at a larger scale with something like Steam, with something like PlayStation or Nintendo, who have
time
an
might
app
be
store.
coming up a little bit.
Right. That's going to suck for those, but it will be better for the consumer when we have something that can compete with us, legitimately compete with a Switch. Are you about to... Wait. We've come full circle on this. Austin for years has been like, cloud gaming is dumb.
Look, I got the new Samsung gaming portable. It has a folding device that fits in your pocket, unlike all these giant PCs. You can get this little Razer doohickey for $100, and on top of that, when you're done, you can detach it and you can use it for cellular telephone calls.
Let us know what you think about the state of handheld gaming. Let us know what you want in the PSP, Vita, Go, Q Lite, Xbox ZY, Go, Slim.
Oh, sorry, I'm getting a call. Yeah, Phil? Yeah, you got a new Xbox coming? Okay, sounds good.
Like,
it's
follow,
$800?
subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Wow, Matt's gonna buy 3.